All right, I'm currently on the phone with Bob. He's another musician that reached out about the current interview sessions going on. So I'm going to go ahead and give him the chance to introduce himself.
My name is Bob Houghton. Go by Bob Houghton Music on most of my social sites. And I got into music, of course, back in the 70s. I just, went to a lot of concerts, mostly hard rock concerts, Iron Maiden, Black Sabbath, stuff like that, Led Zeppelin. Interesting story about Led Zeppelin. I had tickets to see Led Zeppelin, and a buddy of mine, he got the tickets, and I guess they had to postpone the concert because Robert Plant got laryngitis or something like that. And so they postponed the concert for like a few weeks down the road. And he was certain he had the date set just right. It was the certain date they were going to, honor the tickets for. So we went down to, I think it was LA Coliseum, went down there with our tickets. And turns out they were for the day before. So they wouldn't let us in. I didn't get to see Led Zeppelin.
Oh,
That was
no.
no. But yeah, just that's how I started, just going to concerts, and then decided, it'd be fun to play guitar or play bass or something. And so I got into bass. I went over to a friend's house one day, and I'd never picked up a guitar or a bass. This is just like probably around 18 or so, when I was about 18. And I went to his house, and they were playing some cover songs, and the bass player was singing and playing bass at the same time. And he was having some issues, and he was having a hard time doing them both. So he said, "Do you play bass or anything?" I said, "No, I don't." He says, "Well, let me just show you some things on the bass. Maybe you can do it." So he showed me a few things, and I played it. And he said, "That sounds pretty good. Why don't you take my bass home and just start practicing?" So I did, and that's how I got into playing bass. And then really got into writing my own music and my own songs. And I needed to be able to record, guitar tracks. So I taught myself some guitar, and it's just, that's basically how I got started. And joined a couple of bands, and doing mostly covers. And then, we wanted to do some originals. So I started writing the lyrics for the originals, and then, of course, doing the bass lines. And then the guitarist would come in and do his thing on the guitar, and the drummer would do his thing. And we'd do, a few covers, a few originals, but they were always, originals that I wrote. And then I just really got into doing that and started doing more recording. And, that's basically how I got started.
Okay, so to go back a little bit, you mentioned that you got into music by going to a bunch of shows. Was that kind of in your mid-teenage years or as a young adult? Where did that kind of line up?
That would be like, I'd say late teens, early 20s was probably the time frame. Um,
And so, did you do music during school at all, or was it all kind of just happenstance that it came about, through going to shows and stuff?
yeah, I didn't really, when I was in high school, I really didn't, have a desire to learn the guitar or anything. I loved music, loved rock and roll. I just never really had a strong desire to learn guitar. And then it was after I graduated, it was after I was, about 18 or so, is when I started, playing the bass. So, just and playing concerts, that really kind of inspired me.
And you mentioned that your, kind of motivation and learning of the bass was all kind of vicariously, or not vicariously, but it was from your friend motivated to learn the parts for his band.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, they were just cover songs. I think the first song he taught me at their session was "You Really Got Me," with Van Halen song. And so that was pretty simple. But yeah, that's when I started doing that, I just thought, this is really cool. I think I better keep it up. So I
Yeah,
have.
so tell me about how that transitioned from, having kind of an amateurish interest in, at that level, and then transitioning into a more kind of creative and devoted interest.
Um, just different bands that I was in. Whenever we would, start on doing some originals, there was one band that I was in that really got into doing the originals, and that's what really made me want to get into recording more. I've always done a little bit of recording, but over the years, I just started getting more and more gear until I could get to a point where I've got, a decent home studio, and I can make some pretty decent demos and pretty good recordings. And that's just kind of where I became, to the point where I'm at now.
Okay. And so it sounds like through making those demos and everything, you transitioned to kind of being more focused on like a singer songwriter type project than playing out with the band sort of thing. Or is that not true?
No, I did. I really got into the singer songwriter thing. Played some of the not nightclubs, but just some of the coffee shops and local stuff around here. Just doing my songs as a acoustic guitar and vocals. And then I had a gal that was in our one of our cover bands, and she kind of joined me with backing vocals. So that's kind of where I went with that.
Okay. And so with this project that you're at, kind of what is the, I guess, motivation and kind of theory behind it? Is it just, a studio project to write a bunch of songs, or do you have like a concept you're working on? Give me some detail about it.
Not really a concept, just songs that come to my head. I'll just kind of come up with some lyrics and start thinking about the lyrics, and then when I've got enough lyrics for at least a verse and a chorus, I'll start figuring out some music that'll go with it, and then it eventually turns into a full song. I just keep adding tracks. I'll listen to it over and over and listen to where it can sound better, and then I'll add those tracks to it until I've got a full complete song.
Okay, and then what are you kind of looking for once you have a collection to get together? Is it, continuing just, keep writing songs, or are you going to put an album out? What do you think your trajectory is?
I've got a couple albums out right now on Spotify and all the usual downloading links. And right now I'm in a band, and the band that I'm in is called the Wayne Byerly Band. Kind of interesting how that came to be. I just got a message one day from this guy that I was Facebook friends with. He said, "Hey, I'm looking for a bass player, and I was checking out some of your songs, and it sounds like you would be a good bass player for my band." So I said, "Okay, well, I'll meet with you and see what happens." So we set up a time to get together, and then I was talking to my wife, and she says, "Well, do you know anything about this guy other than just your Facebook friends?" And I said, "Well, not really." He said, "But I could Google his name and I could probably find out more information." So I Googled his name, my wife and I did, and it turns out he used to rob banks for a living, which is pretty interesting. And so she goes, "Are you sure you want to go meet this guy?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna meet him." So I went to his house and met with him, and he's a real nice guy. He's got his stuff together, and he's been out of jail for quite a few years. But he ended up robbing 13 banks. And on the 13th bank robbery, he got caught. He got into a shootout with SWAT, and got shot in the back, and they took him to jail. And he spent I think 12 years in jail. And while he was in there, one of his cellmates kind of confessed some things to him, and he was actually able to testify against this guy and got him, really ended up getting put to death. He got the death sentence for this guy for doing some really bad stuff. So anyway, he's got all kinds of stories. But
I would imagine even if like you didn't end up being in the band with him, it would still be interesting to meet him and just talk about that.
Exactly, yeah. And Netflix was actually considering doing a documentary on his story, because it's pretty fascinating. And they did reels, went to his house and they did some reels of kind of like a preview of what the documentary would look like, and they're trying to sell it to some major companies. So if that comes about, then he'll have to have a band to be able to play the songs, and I'll be in the band and probably get some time on TV on Netflix or whatever.
Awesome, that's cool. So with that project, would you be a writing partner in that, or was that all his songs, or is that tied into what you're working on at all?
They're all his songs, but I'm doing the bass line to all the songs, and I'm doing all the recording. So whenever the band gets together to play, I always record the band, and then I can mix the songs and send them out to the band members, and we can listen back to everything and decide if there's anything needs to be changed, or kind of get an idea how we're doing. But
Cool.
some bass line, some backing vocals, and then he's always throwing ideas, bouncing ideas off of me. So we're just doing that. So
Yeah,
it's fun.
that sounds like a fun project. What do you kind of see in the future for all that? Do you kind of see just doing that band, or do you want to put out your solo stuff and then put a band together for that? What do you see for yourself?
I think both. I would like to be able to do, play out my own music and then be able to do his thing too. I think he would prefer to keep separate as far as vocals. He wants to be able to do his songs with his vocals, and then I would be doing my own songs with my vocals. And I'm not sure exactly how it would work out the other instruments, drummer, and I would want to have a bass player because on my songs I like to play guitar, so I would have to find a bass player and a drummer. So that's an option. It's something we might work into. See if we can get maybe two bands going on.
Sure, definitely. If it all works out, then why not? Perfect. Tell me about the memories and events that have happened to you with your participation in music that have kept you motivated and kind of engaged in it.
Um, Gosh, I mean, just whenever we play out somewhere, just playing in front of an audience, that's motivating. It feels good, and you can tell when people are enjoying themselves and they're really listening to the music. It just kind of gets you inspired and makes you want to keep doing it. Because it can get kind of tiresome or sometimes kind of depressing sometimes when you put all this time and effort into creating these songs. Then you put them out there and like hardly anybody listens to them. It gets kind of depressing sometimes. But it is what it is. Things just are the way they are.
Okay. I mean, that's absolutely valid. I know when I get out there and play shows, that's some of the most, important moments that have happened to me surrounding music, because that's when you kind of really experience and have the ability to kind of hone your craft and put the performance mentality into it. And so I definitely agree and can relate to that. All right. Well, where can people find the stuff that you have put out, and then check out the Netflix documentary of your bank robber bandit band?
Yeah, if anybody wants to go to just Google his name, Wayne Byerly, and you'll find all kinds of information on him. There's our local news station did a little news thing on him. And then there's all kinds of stuff. There's a guy that did a really lengthy magazine story about him, and it tells all about his bank robberies and what he went through when he got caught, and shows pictures of the getaway car that was riddled with bullets. I mean, this is Bonnie and Clyde kind of stuff that he was into. It was pretty impressive. But they just go to just Google Wayne Byerly, and you'll see some information about him. But as far as my stuff, just Bob Houghton Music. I'm on all the usual things. YouTube. I've got a YouTube channel with a lot of videos. Whenever I write a song, create a song, I usually make a video of some kind with it. So there's a lot of videos up on YouTube. Bob Houghton Music. Spotify, just Bob Houghton Music. So just anything that you're on, just look up Bob Houghton Music. BOBHOUGHTON music, and you should be able to find me.
Awesome. Perfect. All right. So I always like to give the person I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out their last word. So what's a message that you have that you want to share with people?
I would say if you're a musician, especially, just don't give up. Just keep at it. I mean, like I say, it's frustrating sometimes when you create these songs and it doesn't seem like anybody's interested in listening to them sometimes. But it's easy to just want to give up and just say, I'm putting away my equipment, I'm selling my gear, I'm done with this. And there's quite a few times that I've thought about that, but I didn't. I just kept doing it. I kept on writing songs, and I just figured, well, I'm doing it for me then. If nobody else is going to listen to them, I'll do it for myself. So just keep after it and just don't give up.